So I did the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp, also called the BBC. So this camp was located between two villages, Bergen and Belsen. So you can see here is the camp, and then here's Belsen, and here's Bergen. So information on the camp. It was established in 1943 as a detention center for Jews. They would trade the Jews for Germans in Allied territories or sell them just for supplies and money. And then this wasn't a killing camp, but a labor camp, which is different than what we normally hear about. And then this camp was split into 5 sections, and there was like a prison area, place where they'd hold them, like incoming prisoners, and just like sections like that. And here's some images. So some more information. The camp wasn't one of the worst, but after death marches had started to occur, the camp deteriorated and people were dying and being killed even faster because of the rapid increase in people and just for how the conditions there got way worse. Most of the prisoners from Auschwitz were coming down after they were evacuated, so they were marched to Bergen-Belsen and some nearby camps, but a lot came here. And then the camp was meant for around 10,000 people, but after these marches, they had about 60,000 Jews there. So supplies were very limited, and most people did die of like starvation and lack of shelter. And then, although Bergen-Belsen never had any gas chambers, tons of people still died of other things, causing it to have some of the worst living conditions in any of Germany's concentration camps. And it was one of the bigger camps, and the camp was liberated on April 15th, 1945 by British. Here's some more images. So life on the camp was mainly a holding camp and a labor camp, so there were no gas chambers there that people were being rapidly killed in. Other than the labor, the conditions there weren't that bad until the death marches started coming in, and then things really started to like go downhill. They didn't have enough food to feed everyone, so lots of people were dying of starvation. Tons and tons of diseases were spread due to the capacity of people living there, and that was one of the main causes of death. A typhoid outbreak broke out, causing many people to die, and was the main disease that killed lots of people. And lots of people died of overwork. And then, since they didn't have shelters for everyone, they had to sleep outside in the freezing weather conditions and died from that. Before the sudden influx of people, they were being killed by starvation mainly because even when that many people weren't there, they still did not have that many supplies. Torture was a really big way. Hanging, shot, overwork, and lack of shelter. So the result, as said, around 54,000 people were killed in this camp. 28,000 of these deaths were because of the diseases, and then 17,000 were from the typhoid outbreak alone. And there are now mass graves that the British Army placed there for all of the corpses because there were so many and they wanted to remember it. And it ended up being one of the first major Nazi concentration camps to be liberated by Western allies. So what happened there became world famous and very eye-opening for the public since it had some of the first images kind of released there. And then 48 members of the officers in charge of the camp were tried, and 11 of them were sentenced to death by military court and hanging. This included Joseph Kramer, who was known as the Beast of Belsen for how mean he was, and he was kind of the leader of the camp. The Bergen-Belsen became the largest displaced person camp in Germany, with most migrating to Israel. And then the camp was burned to the ground, so there's no remains of the camp besides the graves. And if you go to visit, there's like a rock that says Bergen-Belsen, and then nothing else is there. So you can take like a virtual tour that has iPads that will show you what the camp would have looked like. And there's the rock and the tool. So I have 2 videos. The first video just kind of shows like the deaths and like the toll compared to the Holocaust as a whole. And there's no sound in this video. So that's kind of like the main idea of that. And then this one is an actual survivor of Bergen-Belsen, and his name is Tommy Reikentel. And I just have like a clip from this.
Good afternoon. You can hear me all right, yeah? Okay. As I was introduced, my name is Tommy Reichenthal. Stop playing, looking if that woman will get up. When she got up, we knew she has another day to live. In most cases, they never got up. And this used to happen every day, several times. So we actually saw people dying in front of our eyes. So the life in Bergen-Belsen was very, very cruel. Bergen-Belsen was not extermination camp in a sense that we had gas chamber or people were being executed, mass executed. People were dying from starvation, disease, cold. And it was a very slow death, very painful death. If you got typhoid, you got diarrhea, you got dehydrated, you couldn't collect your food, and finally you died. And this didn't happen overnight. It happened over weeks, sometimes months. So it was a very painful way to die. Some of these inmates were so desperate that they wanted to end it. And therefore, during the night, they would run towards the barbed wire, start to climb. They knew that they can't escape because every 300 yards you had a watchtower. We used to.
Maybe. And then here's my citations.